There's a moment where you stop feeling different and start seeing everything differently. At the quantum level, reality doesn't exist the way you think it does. And once you understand this, you won't see people the same way again. There's a moment in your awareness where something shifts, not emotionally, perceptually, and once it happens, you don't go back. You don't feel different. You see different. You start noticing something subtle patterns in people, in behavior, in conversations, and what used to confuse you starts making sense. Not because they changed, but because you're seeing differently. And here's where it gets interesting. In physics, what we observe depends on how we measure. At the quantum level, systems don't have a fixed state until they interact, until they're measured, which means what shows up depends on the interaction. And your awareness is part of that interaction. So when your perception shifts, your experience shifts with it. Not because reality changed, but because your observation did. You begin to see people as they actually behave, not as who you could be, not as who you hoped they were. And that realization changes how you respond. You stop trying to fix people, not because you don't care, but because you see something most people miss. Everyone is interpreting reality through their own lens, and here's the part people don't like to hear. You can't see for them. Just like in physics, you can't measure a system without interaction. Each person has to encounter their own experience. And once you see that clearly, you stop interfering. Not out of detachment, but out of understanding. Because forcing awareness doesn't create clarity, it creates resistance. And this is where the shift deepens. Because once your perception stabilizes, your reactions change automatically. You don't get pulled the same way. You don't explain yourself the same way. You don't need the same validation. Not because you lost something, but because your relationship to reality changed. And here's something even more interesting. In physics, once a system is measured, it doesn't return to its original uncertainty. The state has changed. And something similar happens here. Once you see clearly, you don't go back to guessing. You don't go back to projecting. You see what's actually there, and that clarity can feel like distance to other people. But it's not distance, it's precision. And this is where connection changes. Because most people think connection is about closeness, but physics suggests something deeper. Quantum entanglement shows that systems can remain correlated, even across distance, not through emotion, not through effort, but through shared state. And while that's physics, it points to something worth noticing. Connection isn't about proximity. It's about alignment. So as your awareness refines, your connections refine. Not everything resonates anymore. Not everyone feels the same anymore, and that's not loss. That's calibration. And here's the truth most people don't expect. You're not becoming someone new. You're removing distortion. You're seeing without projection, and once that happens, you can't unsee it. You are still observing reality, but now you understand your role and how you experience it. Every clip is a seed, but you decide what grows. If something in you resonated, continue the journey. Explore the free journals at ladystringers.com. New episodes weekly.